Morning everyone, welcome to our pre-match press conference ahead of Monday's game against Crystal Palace. We'll start with a question from Alan Irwin at Sky Sports, please.
Hi Sean, morning. Player availability, first of all, we saw Amadou Onana back off the bench and Seamus Coleman last week. Are they fit and ready to start maybe on Monday?
Yeah, they're certainly back in the thinking. Both come through a few days training very well. Duke's got a chance as well. He's back in the thinking. He's been on the grass with us this week, which is good news. So they certainly come back into the squad with the thought of getting in the side.
Will you be tempted with Doucoure, because he has been such an important player for you? Yeah,
he's done very well. If he's right and he feels right, then he's certainly in the thinking. We've got a couple of days now to train before the game, obviously, so we'll see how that goes.
How's Ben Godfrey?
Yeah, he's good, yeah. Yeah, just a bug, so that's passed pretty quick.
Yeah, and are we still some way off with Arnaud Danjuma and Andre Gomez?
Yeah, both of them. Andre's back on the grass, but it's still got to be a delicate one with his calves, because he's had a few of them now, so we've got to be careful with that. And Arnie's going well, but he's got a few weeks yet.
And you're back on the grass on Monday. How was it up in the stand at Manchester City?
Yeah, not ideal.
Good view?
Not ideal. Nice heated seat. No, it's not ideal being up there. It's not really my bag, but it's done now.
Did it affect much?
No, I think the lads did great. I mean, you got communication with them. It just feels different. You can't get involved emotionally in the game because you have to stay quiet. You're not going to even I don't sit up there and start shouting onto the pitch like Brian Clough used to when I was younger.
It's hard to stay quiet, isn't it? And
it is when you're me.
Yeah, well, on your best behaviour now till the end of the season.
No, definitely not.
You've not won any of the last 7 Premier League games, unfortunately. Has that affected morale, confidence?
No, I don't think so. I think some of the performances have been very good. Clean sheets in amongst them and points against some tough sides, So I think there's a good challenge for the group. A lot of games coming up to Christmas and then come out the back of that, players getting fit again. So I think there's a lot of positive signs about what we're trying to do. We just got to score more goals, and I think we all know that.
Becoming familiar with Crystal Palace, this will be the 4th meeting this season, but you haven't lost any of them. Does that affect this one on Monday?
No, I don't think you go on what's before, but I think we're capable of being competitive in every game. I think we've shown that, and I think the margins are important. We've got to get on the right side of that. That's the only thing that's been missing when we haven't won. I think when we created chances, haven't scored goals, that sort of thing. But no, they're a good outfit. We've played them, as you said, a number of times this season, so we want the right outcome for ourselves.
Does it affect the game? You know each other's games so well, I suppose, and played recently as well.
No, I don't think so. I think every game's different. Every game plays out different. Tactics and all that. Most teams have a more sort of go-to shape, if you like, which I think they will have, and ourselves included. And most teams do. So, no, I think it's about turning up on the day and playing and delivering a performance like it always is.
They're not in a good run of form, are they? It's just 2 wins from the last 13 Premier League games, and unfortunately Roy Hodgson taken ill on Thursday. Do you feel for him and his position at the moment?
Well, I certainly wish him well. I sent a message out and just briefly spoke to Ray Lewin and on a message, so I believe things are okay at the minute. We wish him well and we want that before anything. Great guy, someone I respect greatly, and Ray too, so we're hoping that recovers, but obviously when the game comes round, we've got to look all beyond that. It's an important game. It's important to us. The points are important. So, that has to be parked. But bigger than the game is certainly his health, and I hope he is well, and I hope he comes through it with no problems.
And I suppose even Roy would acknowledge that run of form, it's part and parcel of people putting you under pressure, really, in the Premier League.
Well, I think everyone's under pressure in the Premier League, regardless. You're whether you're top, middle or bottom, everyone's looking to say, can you win the next game? We certainly put ourselves under our own pressure to win games, and that's what we're going to do for this one.
I think you've already mentioned it. Goals have been an issue. I know you've not scored in 4 of the last 5 Premier League games, and quite naturally, people look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin and that run of games without a goal. Are you still pleased with his performance?
Yeah, it's not about one player. It's about all the team, and I think we're trying to enhance that with the group. The mentality that everyone can score a goal. It's not looking at one player. And I think Dom's given a good level of performance, and something will work for him. It's kind of that scenario. Sometimes you get lucky when it hits you and goes in. Sometimes you've got to work for the goal, and I think he's finding that balance. He is working. Goals will come his way, I'm sure of that. But it's a team responsibility. It's not just one player.
Or it hits Jack Harrison and goes in. So.
Well, c'est la vie.
And we're still awaiting the verdict, of course, on the appeal following the 10-point deduction. I think we were hopeful it was going to be by the end of this week. It's dragging on a bit. Is that bad for the club and the fans, really?
It hasn't dragged on for me. It's just the case of how it's mapped out. So We would give it a very general timeline, probably over the next couple of weeks. Wait and see.
Okay, and just away from what's happening on the pitch, Monday is Everton in the community's 36th anniversary, which is quite an achievement, really. I know you've been involved in certain aspects of that since you've been at the club, but they do it really well, don't they? And it's important too.
Yeah, they do. I've been learning about it. I've you know, my time is limited, obviously, what I can do with that. But I've been down to the People's Place, see what they do there. They've brought groups up to the training ground to share with the players, which has been great. But yeah, I'm learning about it, to be honest, and I know they do a lot of good. I know they have done for many, many years, and a lot of good people affecting the area, and long may it continue, and long may it keep progressing.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Go to Fraser next, please.
Thanks very much, Sean. When you play a team a couple of times so close together, is that a help or a hindrance in any way at all when it comes to?
I don't think it's. I don't think particularly. You like to think, you know, you just get a bit more knowledge on the team, because we can all analyse games, which we do. We can all look at the team formats, but when you play, you know, you learn a little bit more about the nuances of the team and the individuals. But I think it's still, you know, most people in the Premier League know what each other are about. Obviously, if you know, change of coach and managers change things sometimes, but generally speaking, most teams know what each other are about. It's about delivery of performance. You know, I speak to our players about it all the time. How much analysis you do on the opposition, we've got to perform, and I think that's been an idea I've been speaking about this group since I got here, the consistency of performance as well. And I think it's been pretty good this season, actually. So turning them consistent performances into wins is the challenge. We've done that somewhat this season. We've got to do it again.
And when you take on a team that's close to you or in and around where you are in the league position, does there have any change? Do you take any a change of approach in how you go into that?
I think the noise around it changes, but at the end of the day, the mentality we've been trying to build here is every game's a big game, every game's an important game, so that we find yet again that word consistency. You find that consistency in the mentality of the group. So I think we'll be ready. We've been ready for every game this season. A couple we've stepped away from, we haven't done well, but most I think we've been a very competitive side, and we've got to continue with that train of thought amongst all the games we play.
And Roy, obviously, at the age of 76, incredible that he's still got the thirst for
management.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you think is maybe driving somebody at that sort of age? Do you expect to be still working as a manager at 76?
I certainly don't, and I won't be. But that's not questioning him. You know, he's got a desire. He's got a bug for the game, like we all have in one way or another. I've never really. I know I've met Roy a number of times. Been, you know, done coaches groups with the leaders in sport and things like that, and spoke to him personally, but I never really brought it up actually about age or anything like that. I think if you've got the desire to keep going and keep doing what you do, no matter what you do, not just football manager, I think why not? I can't see myself being that age doing it, but that's no question on others. You know, it's not because I don't love the game, I just can't. I just get to a point when you go, no, that's enough. But he's still got the fire to keep going. But like I say, first of all, we wish him well. I hope that he recovers.
Thanks, Fraser. We'll go to Mike at BBC Radio Merseyside.
Sean, even though the wins in the Premier League have been thin on the ground over the past couple of months, it's worth considering that you've played Man City twice and given a good account of yourselves. 1 point against Tottenham that could easily have been 4. Aston Villa, decent at Goodison, goalless against Fulham also when you created enough chances to win 4 games. I know you said you've been happy with the level of performance, but have the players also been able to take positives, even though there has been a shortage of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a belief in the group. You know, it's not just my belief in them. I think it's grown their ownership of it, and as a group. And I think the demand has risen as well. I think they demand more from each other, and I think that's given some positives, as you said. And sometimes, you know, you're right. You've got a manager's, coach's job, and the players is to look through the actual outcome and the result, and see what we're doing and see what the performances are. And I agree. I think we've played some very tough sides. I think we've played some tough games. And we've been a very small margin away from winning certainly a couple of them games. But they are the margins that count. You know, we can do all the good stuff, but you've got to reward yourself by taking them big moments, you know, by finding a goal, by finding a cross, by finding a pass, and, of course, while keeping the back door locked. But we've been pretty good on that side of things. So I think the team know that. You know, how many different scorers can we get, how many different ways of scoring, how many different chances. All the noise XG, and I've used it myself because it has been quite extraordinary, the level of it. But you've got to put it into action. You can't just keep relying. I've spoke to the players endlessly about it. It doesn't, even my words, you know, the idea of good XG, good performances and all that, that's all well and good. But we can't wait for it to happen. You know, I say all the time, you've got to make it happen, and that's the next step. You know, not worrying about all the noise, just making it happen. And I think we're very close to that.
What's the key, do you think, to finding that much needed conviction and composure in the final third? Because it's only done on the training ground to prepare for matches, and
it's having the freedom to take on a chance. I call it the freedom to miss. Don't worry about missing. I don't count players for missing. I get on them if they're not in there to score. But as long as they're in the right areas and they keep going in the right areas and they try and score, I've got no problem from me. But you've got to be a freedom. You've got to be relaxed enough to miss a chance. Not be uptight. Just take it on and be clear-minded and sort of, bloody-minded, if you like, and not worry about it. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't go our way, it doesn't go our way. But get in the right areas. Keep getting in the right areas consistently. And have the freedom to miss, as I say. So I think that's a mentality we're trying to build here, and I think there's been signs of it. We've had good scoring spells and with clean sheets as well, and then we've gone a little bit soft with it. But it's a collective responsibility. It's certainly not, one player's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility.
Getting Abdoulaye, Doucoure back in the starting lineup whenever that's possible is going to be a positive. What did you see in him to make you think that he was someone that could play much higher up the pitch than he's generally been?
Yeah, just his history. I knew him for a while, from the early days of his career. I felt that he's got legs and energy. I think he knows the game, particularly tactically, does it very well, and I think he can score a goal. So just looking at the logical side of it, really, I hadn't worked up close with him, so I didn't really know. It was you got on the instinct of, and your staff as well. You discuss these things with your staff. But when we first got it, I thought, look, he's a player I've always liked. And put him straight in the side, and he's delivered. There's no two ways about it. We all know that he's done very, very well. We want him to come back in the side when he can and do well again.
And Lewis Dobbin has been in and around the first team on quite a few occasions now. We know he scored against Chelsea. Is he closer to starting matches in your thinking? Because
he's still young in Premier League experience, but we like him. We like what he's doing. He's working hard on the training pitch. And I think he's developing nicely, actually. For someone who, in the ideal situation, some of these players might have been out on loan already. I know he has been, and since I've been here, this summer particularly. But he's been in the group and he's been coming off the bench, so he is developing. He's getting minutes on a Premier League pitch. He scored a goal, of course, as well. And I think he's going along nicely, and we like what he's doing.
Okay, thanks. Go to Cal, PA, please.
Thanks, Sean. There's a lot of speculation and uncertainties surrounding Palace at the moment, and obviously that's something you're familiar with. I'm just wondering, is there anything you can use to your advantage going into Monday in terms of that uncertainty that they have?
No, I don't think so. I think the mentality's got to be right for us. If anything's not right their end, then we can't. Obviously, it's nothing to do with us. And if it imbalances their situation, that's helpful. But equally, you can turn it the other way, and will they galvanise for that situation? Who knows? So I still think I've often spoke to the players, and like I say, you're right to bring up. There is an awareness of the opposition. There has to be, of course, and a tactical understanding. But I've always kept the straightforward thinking that it's about us. We've got to make the game about us, particularly at Goodison, of course. Make the game about us. Whatever format we choose to make it about us in, you can't do it all the time. If you're playing Man City, for example, you're probably going to give up some possession. That's just a statistical thing. But usually at Goodison particularly, we want to take the game on, and we've got to have that mentality. So I think it's the players are aware now. The coverage of everything in football is so vast. They're all aware of the situation. So we focus on what we're doing.
Jared Branthwaite has been one of your players of the season. But
has he? Are you telling me or asking me? I just wouldn't. Just have interest.
Last weekend, obviously, he experienced the harsh realities of facing the top end of the Premier League and a world-class striker in Haaland. Just wondering what he can gain from that experience to take on, because he's obviously still relatively young.
I don't think it's just him, but I think he's learning all the time, and he's developing very well amongst a unit that's done very well, the sort of back five, if you like. I think whoever's played there has done very well. No, I don't think it's about one individual performance. I think he's very unlucky on Haaland's good finish from Haaland, but he's very unlucky. They clash of legs and he goes down, not foul, just a clash of legs. It happens, it's an unlucky moment. But no, he's going along very well amongst a few. I think Tarky's been excellent as well. So there's a few going very well, I think, at this club.
Great, thanks everyone. We'll move on to the newspapers now.
Thank you.